The Patriots close the book on the 2020 season. Buckle up, as one of the most interesting off seasons in recent memory is just around the corner. Hello and welcome to Patriots All Access presented by GEICO. I'm Steve Burton. It was great to see New England finish the season strong with a victory over the Jets and improve to 7-9 on the year. That win, however, can't mask the disappointment of not being in the postseason for the first time in 12 years. Dan Roach kicks things off with a look back at one of the most challenging seasons in franchise history.
Obviously, the results this year weren't what we had hoped for, but doesn't change my appreciation for their efforts.
The roller coaster 2020 season began with promise.
Newton to the pylon. Touchdown!
Yeah.
Patriots! His second.
But October brought COVID issues.
The Patriots won't be playing football tomorrow after the NFL postponed their game against the Chiefs. Pats QB Cam Newton has tested positive, and so has a player on the Chiefs.
And there were losing streaks of 4 and 3 games, putting a glaring spotlight on a team with simply not enough talent to earn a trip to the postseason. But they left with heads held high in a challenging season.
Football is a microcosm of life. It's struggle, it's triumph, it's defeat. That's life. And if we haven't learned anything else, I hope we learn that this year.
Try to put our best foot forward. Obviously, we didn't win as many games as we necessarily wanted to. A lot of guys went through a lot this season, including myself.
I take a lot of pride in being here and being with these group of men day in and day out. So no matter what, I've been very fortunate to be a New England Patriot.
Bill Belichick will have a lot of work to do this offseason. Longtime director of player personnel Nick Caserio has been named the Texans GM. Meanwhile, the Pats must address their own free agents, including Super Bowl champions James White, Joe Thuney, and David Andrews. Andrews was emotional when looking back on his 5 years here in New England.
Yeah, I love this game. This place is special to me, and yeah.
And looking ahead to this year's NFL draft, the Patriots are expected to have 10 picks overall, including the first, which will be 15th, the highest they'll have a draft pick since 2008, when, Steve, they took a guy by the name of Gerard Mayo.
Oh, we all know that name very well. Dan, let me ask you this. Patriots missed the playoffs the first time in 12 years. Is this an anomaly? Or should fans be bracing for more of this?
I think it's an anomaly, Steve. I think when you look at what happened this year, from COVID to Cam Newton getting their quarterback very late in June, I think nothing fell into place for this Patriots team. And Bill Belichick, we know what he likes to do, and that is teach and coach, and didn't have that hands-on ability that he would have liked all the way back to April going forward. So I think it was an anomaly, and I think what they have to do now is upgrade talent. We know that: quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, defense a little bit. But if they do that, I think they can definitely be a playoff team again next year.
Well, next season can't get here soon enough.
Can't wait.
All right, Roachy, thank you very much. We'll be back with more Patriots All Access right after this.
Coming up on All Access.
We break down the Patriots quarterback position with former quarterback Scott Zolak.
I really appreciate what Cam gave the team this year as far as leadership, accountability, and I think the most important thing of a football player, durability.
But first, find out what franchise records fell this season.
You're watching Patriots All Access.
Patriots All Access is brought to you by Pepsi. That's what I like. Pepsi, the official soft drink of the New England Patriots. And by Putnam Investments. Putnam Investments and the New England Patriots. Proud partners committed to an active game plan on the field and off. And by Bank of America, official bank of the New England Patriots.
Here are some key dates to keep an eye on this winter and spring. Beginning in late February and continuing into March is the franchise tag period. March 17th is the start of the league year. For teams with returning coaches, the offseason program can begin on April 19th. The draft is at the end of April, with the last day sliding into May. One thing to keep in mind is that the Combine has yet to be scheduled.
Welcome back to Patriots All Access, everyone. Joining me now is Patriot radio analyst Scott Zolak, former quarterback Scott Zolak. And because we're talking quarterbacks right out of the gate, I want to talk about number one, Cam Newton. Is he coming back?
Well, first of all, I want to preface it with I really appreciate what Cam gave the team this year as far as leadership, accountability, and I think the most important thing of a football player, durability, the ability to be there outside the COVID positive test that he had. And I thought he really gave you everything he could. Now, that all being said, there's a premium at this position. This is the NFL. It's a quarterback league. I would say he would not be coming back. And I think both sides, like to that Adam Schefter report prior to the game, a week ago, I would say that, yeah, he's not coming back.
Patriots have the 15th overall pick. Do you go to quarterback at number 15? Do you choose a quarterback at 15?
I don't, Steve, and I say that because I think all five that you really covet or want are going to be gone at that point. I think there's going to be a run at quarterback, especially early at the top of this draft. I think the Dolphins could even jump in right there. You know, they got a top 3 pick again, and I'm not sure that they're sold on Tua. So unless you got a guy like a Mac Jones that you have an extremely high grade on, he falls to you at 15, then maybe that's where you pounce on it. But I strongly feel that the 5 best quarterbacks in this draft will be gone by number 15.
But do you take a quarterback in this draft, so?
I think you have to, sure. I do think that Jarrett Stidham obviously will be back. I think it's good money. You have control of the player. You heard Coach Belichick talk about him trending and how he's ascending. And let's not forget, he did dress out after the Kansas City game. So he was the backup here. At the end of the year, the backup all last year. You bring Stidham back. I think you got to get a veteran, and you draft another guy.
And how about free agency? Do you take a quarterback in free agency? And if you do, who do you like?
Well, I think, do you consider free agency a trade? And if that is the case, then your answer is yes. I go after Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco. And I say that, Steve, because Jimmy was here in a system for 4 years, especially under Josh McDaniels. And I think a lot of that can depend on whether you go after Jimmy if Josh is back, or Billy O'Brien's out there, Chad O'Shea, those type of guys that can come back and be an offensive coordinator that knows the system, that knew Jimmy. And I really liked Jimmy when he was here. The timing didn't work. Tom beat that one out. And I just think it's the quickest fix to get back to being a competitor. I think if you go with a young kid and you get him in there, you look at Justin Herbert, that coach got fired out there. As good as Herbert was this year, probably going to be rookie of the year. And I don't think Bill's going to be in a rebuilding mode at his age. He wants to win and win quick, and I think Jimmy's the guy.
Scott, it's been great working with you all year, my friend.
I love you, bud. Thanks for having me on.
You too. Scott Zolak, our guest. We'll be back with more Patriots All Access right after this.
There were a variety of personal accomplishments that happened as the season ended. Cam Newton set a franchise record that had lasted 42 years for rushing yards by a quarterback with 592 yards, topping Steve Grogan's 539 yards from 1978. Jake Bailey's punting allowed just 71 return yards on the year, a franchise record and the 6th lowest mark in NFL history. And Gunnar Olszewski led the NFL with a 17.3-yard punt return average. It also set a franchise record for punt return average.
Welcome back to Patriots All Access, everyone, in our Bob's Discount Furniture Studios with Mike Reiss and Paul Perillo. Let's talk future, and let's talk offense. And I want to start with number 11, Julian Edelman. Do we expect him back in a Patriot uniform next year?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. He's got another year left on his deal, Mike, and he's maintained his productivity throughout his career when he's healthy, and that's obviously the big question. Didn't play a lot of football this year. We know how bad that knee became for him, and you do wonder if maybe the Patriots look at it as they're in real need of sort of getting younger on this roster, and if there's a spot for him. If you're asking me, has he played his last down for the Patriots, I will say yes. I think if he plays next year, it'll be somewhere else.
And let's drill down further. You said he has 1 year left in his contract, due to make $2.8 million. Not a huge figure. Would count $6.6 million against the cap, which is somewhat significant. You could save about $4 million on the cap if you want to move on. To me, it comes down to his health. I still think he can help you in a Danny Amendola preservation type third down role. Pick your spots.
So you think he stays?
I think I'll lean in that direction if healthy.
All right, let's head to the trenches. David Andrews, he's a free agent. what happens to David Andrews?
Yeah, I think he stays, Mike. And I think that, his importance in the middle, I think, really was illustrated last year when he was forced to miss the entire 2019 season, with the blood clot issue. I just think the communication, the leadership, he's a passionate guy. We saw a little of that earlier in the week, when he was sort of addressing the media for the final time of this season. I think they find a way. It's not going to be easy. These guys aren't going to be cheap, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
They have some tough decisions. This is one of them.
Paul makes a great point. They're not going to be cheap. Top centers get about $10 million per season. David Andrews, for context, was making about $3 million per season in his current deal. I'll lean toward Paul's direction that he stays because loyalty seems to matter to David Andrews. So if the Patriots are in the ballpark, I think they have the inside track to keep him.
What about another free agent, Joe Thuney?
Yeah, that one's a little bit tougher. You played on the franchise tag, Steve, so obviously we're dealing with even more money, and I don't think you can afford, Mike, to tie up that amount of both real dollars and cap dollars with your interior offensive line. Shaq Mason, the right guard, also makes a fair amount of money. If you're talking about giving Andrews a big deal, the way Mike just talked about, I think someone's got to go. It's unfortunate because I think in many ways the ultimate kind of offensive lineman for the New England Patriots, Joe Thuney, really durable, really versatile, and really productive.
And the reason I think he's going to go, Paul, is I think he's going to blow the market out. Like, I think he's the type of guy entering his 6th season at 28 years old, has hardly missed a snap. I mean, to me, versatile, smart, great guy.
Yep.
That's a guy that teams will pay for and pay big for. I just don't know if they can keep him if you're talking about keeping Andrews as well.
Both of you guys are saying they can't keep both.
That's how I feel.
That's how I feel as well.
All right, they have a plethora of running backs. James White, another free agent. Will he be back? Captain as well.
Yeah, and that's the leadership, and I just think you can't really replace what he means to the passing game. And I think you didn't see as much of it this year, Steve.
Right.
And I think that was one of the more underrated elements of the struggles that Cam Newton had. I don't think he found a way to consistently get James White involved. Now, ironically, we saw it a little bit in the last game with the touchdown throw to open the scoring on the first drive. But I think James White still has some miles left there, and I think that he would not be a guy that's going to blow it out of the water at free agency the way Mike talked about with the offensive lineman. I think he's back.
I'm a little less certain as Paul in the sense of I'd like to hear from James in terms of what's important to him. We know he went through so much this year. Is being down in South Florida important to him to be closer to his family? So I think that's part of it. And Rex Burkhead, I'd add him to this discussion. I think he could be back on a veteran minimum type deal.
Yeah, ironically, the knee injury could help the Patriots retain Burkhead because his market probably isn't going to be as strong.
All right, guys, don't go away because we'll be back. Talk about the defensive side of the ball. We'll be back with more Patriots All Access right after this. Stay with us.
Patriots All Access is brought to you by Pepsi. That's what I like. Pepsi, the official soft drink of the New England Patriots. And by Putnam Investments. Putnam Investments and the New England Patriots. Proud partners committed to an active game plan on the field and off. And by Bank of America, official bank of the New England Patriots.
It's Super Wild Card Weekend this weekend with triple headers both days. The action begins on CBS Saturday at 1 p.m. when Indianapolis travels to Buffalo to take on the 2-seed Buffalo Bills. It continues at 4:40 on Fox when NFL West rivals meet as the Rams travel to take on the Seahawks. The nightcap is on NBC when Tampa takes on the Washington football team. 3 more games on Sunday, beginning at 1 p.m. when Baltimore visits Tennessee. The 4:40 game is on Fox as the Bears take on the Saints in New Orleans. And the final wild card game is a rematch of the regular season finale when Cleveland takes on the Steelers in Pittsburgh on NBC.
Welcome back to Patriots All Access with Mike Reiss and Paul Perillo. Time to talk about the defense. And I want to start with Stephon Gilmore. Do you expect him back, number 24?
Yeah, I really don't. I feel like he sort of was a little bit at odds with the team, Mike, during the course of last year. And, not definitively, but I think there were times where he was sort of unhappy with his contract. I think during training camp he was missing for a little bit. I think that may have been due to his contract. They gave him some money. They moved it back from 2021 to 2020. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense for him to want to continue. I think he's going to get dealt.
It'll just come down to me if they can reach a compromise. This is a collision here. He's due to make $7 million this year. It's too low for a player of his caliber. So if the Patriots and Stephon can come to a middle point, I could see him back. Do I think that's going to happen? I would trend toward no.
Probably not.
No, but those are the dynamics in play.
One of the guys who opted out, Dante Hightower. What's going to happen with Hightower? And is he done? Do you think he'll retire?
Yeah, you do wonder about guys like that when they take the year off, if maybe that's enough for them to say, I've had enough. And, I thought Bill Belichick was really interesting talking about this down the stretch. He mentioned it a couple of times. The uncertainty that was, prevalent back in the summer when these guys made this, not really a whole lot has changed. So to be able to tell a guy who decided to opt out in July what he's going to do next spring and next summer, who knows exactly what they're going to do. If you're asking my question, my answer would be no. I don't think Hightower will be back. But, we haven't talked to Dante. We don't know exactly what's going on in his mind. I just feel like he had a year off, and he probably didn't hate it, Mike.
Exactly, and let's connect some dots. He played for Nick Saban in college, then Bill Belichick for his entire NFL career. You need a lot of competitive stamina, to thrive. And you take a year off from that, you have a new baby, you're a dad for the first time, you might get used to that type of life. So I think I trend toward Paul saying, I wouldn't be surprised if he's not back. And I'd add Lawrence Guy, just because we're talking about the front seven. He's a free agent. I think there's a good chance he could be back because he seems to have liked the roots he's planted here. And they're pretty barren up there at the defensive tackle spot, so they could benefit from bringing him back.
I agree.
Come with me to the secondary.
Okay.
Number 32, the captain. See him coming back?
Yeah,
he says he's coming back.
He says he wants to come back. I think the signs indicate. But what'll be interesting here, Mike, is how much his brother Jason plays into this. And Jason, I don't think has played at the same level that he did when he arrived. And you wonder if they're a package deal. If the Patriots aren't interested in having Jason back, does Devin still want to return here? My guess would be yes, he'll come back because I do think he wants to play. I thought he was pretty strong on that, Mike. His desire to continue playing, and it's a good amount of money too to walk away from.
And I would just add whether Jason still wants to play like that, but he might take that off the table by saying, I've had a good career and I'm going to move on myself.
Hopefully Devin says I'm not coming back without my brother. There you go. Matthew Slater, special teams captain, has another year left. Do we expect him back?
Yeah, I still think he's productive. I still think he has a role in his, his leadership and his sort of spirituality, I think, really permeates the team. Yeah, I think he'll be back.
I do, too. I just think he wants to hear from Bill Belichick that Bill wants him back. And once he hears that, I think it's all systems go.
Guys, I want you guys back.
Please.
It's hard to believe it's over, but I look forward to next season.
My contract's renewed, Mike.
I love it.
I was a little worried. I missed last week.
You
never know. He's out there now. We can't take it back.
It's been a great year with you guys. Thank you very much. That'll do it for this edition of Patriots All Access. For Mike Reiss and Paul Perillo, I'm Steve Burton. Have a great week, everybody. See you later.